Welcome back to another episode of the Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast. Corey Jason, John Pauline. We're getting into it. It's April. First month of the season, almost complete. Got about a week and a half left, a week left before the first complete month is already finished up. The dog days of summer will be here before you know it. That slog in the hot summer months, it's going to be fun. That's where men are made. That's when boys become men. These players, these rookies, if they have the gall, if they have the makeup to become true major leaguers. Because it gets tough. None of these guys have ever had a 162 game season until they get to the majors. Even in the minors, it's less. And their workload is a lot more managed. There's no hand-holding once you get up top.
No, they just let you go. I mean, I think there's a little bit more hand-holding management than there used to be now.
Yes.
Because teams are a little bit more careful with their players, but
even
I
so,
mean,
it's, you're ready to go. And one of the top prospects being called up now as we get into the thick of things, Orioles are calling up their number 4 prospect, MLB pipeline number 29 overall, Heston Kjerstad. Now, he's one of those clone factory Oriole prospects to go along with Jackson Holliday, Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, just all these guys like Colton Cowser, just all these guys, they're like made in the lab.
they all look the
Just
same too. If you ever
all
seen them like lined up, they all look
identical.
very similar.
And like they just have so much. They're such a good team, and that's what losing does. If you draft well when your team is bad, you build up a heck of a farm system.
And then if you get them all coming up at the same time, like the
Yeah,
Orioles are doing now, it's just like you have a really low like cap space, really low salary for your team, and it's just like so if you need players, you have the money to go out and spend to get like the one or two more guys you need to like
I mean that's
top
why they
off the
got
team.
Corbin Burns. They traded DL Hall, and they're gonna look to lock up Burns, who's a free agent. So Kjerstad being brought up, the Orioles are just so good. We'll touch on them a little bit later, but that's just scary, especially as an AL East, opponent. I just don't want to mess with the Orioles, and I'm really excited to see how the Yankees stack up to them. Speaking of the Yankees, they were embarrassed by A's closer Mason Miller. He just throws gas, just straight up throw gasoline on his arm and throw, and it will explode. It was incredible. He made Volpe, Soto, and Judge look like they've never seen a baseball before.
It
Some of
was
the swords
ridiculous.
they've gotten.
It was just ridiculous. I mean, you look at the numbers he's throwing; it looks like a video game.
Yeah,
Looks like watching a video game highlight.
I feel like that's what it was like watching like Satchel Paige, who you always heard, throw so hard, just effortlessly. And his slider has great movement to it. But it makes me wonder, the A's are moving. The A's are a poverty franchise. Could we see him traded? He's got so much service time left. He's under contract for a while. Can he be traded?
I mean, if the A's are trying to make themselves bad, which I mean, there's a pretty good argument that they are. I mean, very easily you can see him being traded. I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know. The A's are also way overperforming than I thought. How they like in this part of the season than I thought they were going to do. Like they're playing a lot better than I expected.
it's just ridiculous. He's right now still in pre-arb. He's 25 years old. He's not going to be a free agent for a while.
I
Like,
mean,
he's not even at arbitration eligibility yet. He probably won't be a free agent until like 2029.
that's some really good trade bait right there for looking like
So,
you're
like, they
looking
could
at
get a
getting a
haul
big
for him because he
haul.
looks like a bona fide, top end closer.
And there's not a lot of bona fide top end closers in the league, like at this moment. I mean, there's closers, but
No,
there's not like any like just like shutout, lights out closers.
he was,
And to find one that has this
yeah.
much left on the contract is like a dream for some of these like some of these other teams.
I would give up a good bit for him because I feel like he would just solidify a bullpen and you have him for so long that it would almost be worth it. But in that Yankees A's game, before Mason Miller closed it out at the front end, Aaron Boone got ejected. Now, let me tell this story. First batter of the game, Carlos Rodon, the Yankees pitcher, hits. Now, it's like a slider, hits the guy in the foot. He also kind of swung at it, nice little check swing action. They decide, hey, you get first base. Aaron Boone comes out of the dugout saying, hey, did he swing? I want to know if he swung. And the home plate umpire says, no, he did not. And Aaron Boone goes, well, you could check it. You don't have to make that call. And the home plate umpire is like, enough out of you. And Boone's like, all right, fine. I'm not going to argue. Aaron Boone does have a penchant to argue balls and strikes and really get in umpires' ears. Players love it. I love it. But in this case, it's all on video. It's the beauty of living in 2024 is everything's caught on tape, audio and video. So Boone backed up, went to the dugout. And then by the time the next pitch came across, Aaron Boone was ejected. Now, Aaron Boone didn't say anything. Aaron Boone was on video, not even looking at the umpire, just chewing a piece of gum. Umpire said, Aaron, you're out. And Boone's like, what did I do? And he comes out, gives his piece, and everybody's so confused. He didn't say anything. Now, the going theory is that a fan that was sitting above Aaron Boone in the seats yelled something at the umpire, and the umpire took it as Aaron Boone or something and threw Boone out, which is embarrassing because you don't throw out the manager for what a fan says. You shouldn't throw anybody out for what a fan says. So that's kind of embarrassing. And then after the game, when a pool reporter went up to the umpire and was like, hey, can you explain this? Instead of saying, I screwed up and I'm sorry, which would have ended everything and nobody would have cared anymore, he doubled down and said, I heard something from the far end of the dugout. And since Boone is the manager of the Yankees, I'm not going to throw out a player. He gets thrown out. The sentiment's great because we're there to see the players, but just don't lie. Don't just say you heard it from the other end. It's on video. There's been nobody saying anything on the other end. We would have heard it. We didn't even hear what the fan yelled, and we have eyes on Boone. So how could he have heard it from the far end if it doesn't get picked up on camera?
I mean, even in the video, you see Boone turned around and points to the fan and said it was him who said it.
It's
like if you watch it, because I just watched it right before the podcast. I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw the video, and it's just like threw him out immediately.
The fan didn't do anything wrong either. The fan's allowed to yell whatever he wants.
You can yell whatever.
Good on the fan for getting in the umpire's head.
I mean, but I mean, honestly, like this goes back to things like the umps need accountability time and time again. Like,
have you seen the umpire auditor on online?
The one on Twitter where the scorecards?
Yes.
I do occasionally.
Did you see this umpire, what his scorecard was?
I did not check his.
On strike calls, he was 68% accurate.
That's
he called 14 strikes balls.
They're making a better and better case every year for the robot umps.
Well, I worked on the robo umps. I was one of the first operators of a robo ump in a game. I got yelled at by players because they couldn't yell at the umpire, so they would turn to me in the press box and shake their fist and yell at me. It was really fun. And I really enjoyed it.
You got to have something. You got to have someone to yell at, take your frustrations on.
Yeah, it's just embarrassing. And MLB said that they're not going to fine Aaron Boone, but they really should show some accountability with this umpire.
Like it's just they need accountability. The umps. I mean, it's like
But Angel Hernandez still has a job, so that won't happen.
No, but you don't want to see the robo umps, but like they make every day you see more and more cases for the robot umps. But like you said, the players turn to you yelling at you, operating like you need like part of the game is arguing with the ump. But I mean, if they're just making blatantly bad calls, have that hair trigger ejection and stuff, it's just like it's hard to sit there and be like, this is better than having the robot umps.
You're right. But let's kind of move on from that because we can talk about how bad MLB umpiring is. Craig Kimbrell, your old friend, he gets save number 423 in his career. He's now 7 all-time, and he's only 1 behind John Franco for the 6th spot. Next save, he'll tie. Save after that, he will pass. Kenley Jansen is 2 ahead of him there, so he's got kind of somebody that he's kind of neck and neck with. Then he'll get into some of the all-time greats. can't really get into the top 5 or so until next year. Just it'll be too many saves that he just won't get.
Yeah.
But he's on track for he could get 500 in a couple years if he hangs around, but he needs to perform better than he has the last couple years.
Yeah. Even I mean, last year he wasn't absolutely horrendous, but he does blow more saves
Postseason,
than you would like.
Craig.
Postseason is a different thing from the regular season. He's. I think at that time, I think it's just you get tired, and he's not a young pitcher. So it's like I think you get tired of the age catches up with you, and.
Yeah. Now, we did talk about how summer's coming. It's a long season. Lots of guys will make their debuts. A lot of players still yet to come. One of them is Paul Skeens, the LSU wonder kid. Just gas arm, kind of like Mason Miller, but as a starter. He's got a great repertoire. When do you think he's going to come up? Do you think he makes it up this year? He was only drafted like last year, pretty much.
I mean, a lot of people have him slated coming up this year. I guess the real question is like when this year, though. But I mean, the Pirates are doing pretty good. I mean, they're hanging around there, possibly,
He was literally drafted over the summer. Like he hasn't had a full year of pro ball yet.
I know he's coming out of college. That's different from getting drafted out of high school.
Born May 29th, 2002. How does that make you feel?
Old. But what? So he's what? 20, 22.
He's young.
So it's young.
And Libby Dunn's boyfriend.
He's living the life.
He's living the life.
And he's probably going to be up in the majors this year. The question is when, though. I mean, do you think? Like the question is when? Do you think the Pirates are going to be in need of him and want him up in May, or they're going to wait till after All-Star break?
It's tough because he really hasn't. He's already in AAA, making hitters look silly. If you kind of look at the standings, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Pirates, who we weren't really super high on, they're in 4th place. They're 12-11. They could look to bring him up maybe in June, sometime in late May, just to get seats filled. The future is here. But they could also hold off. They've been known to, manipulate service time. They can hold off all year and not bring him up until next year. Or wait until, August, September, where it won't really affect them.
I mean, it depends. Though, looking at you said the Pirates they're in 4th place now, but they're only 3 games behind the Brewers right now. They're only 3 games behind. So even though they're in 4th place, like it's still relatively close. Like they're still vying for that. It's still going to be like vying for that. 1st place in the Central there, and that's going to be a close race all year long with the Brewers, Cubs, Reds, and Pirates. And I don't think the Cardinals are there. I mean, they're doing okay, but I don't think they're really in the race much. But between those 4 teams, it'd be a tight race. And if you're the Pirates, I mean, they have a good team. You're playing pretty good. Like you played pretty good to start the season off. I mean, if you're the Pirates, are you looking for that edge there? Paul Skeens might be that edge just to put you ahead of the other teams there. But
it's going to be interesting, and we're just going to have to wait and see. It's tough to predict what teams do. Lastly, let's talk about Jackson Holliday. We brought up his debut, how excited we are. Let's check in on how he's done. He's played 9 games since he's debuted, 30 at-bats, 1 hit, 1 RBI, 2 walks. All that means he's 1 for 28 in his career with 16 strikeouts. An .094 on base percentage, coupled with a .033 batting average and a 0.127 OPS. That is just abysmal. And he's going to bounce back. These aren't going to be his career numbers, but it's a tough start to the kid.
It's a really tough start. I mean, he was hyped up big time by fans, by MLB, I feel like everything. I feel like
Everybody.
Baseball fans knew who Jackson Holliday was. Like even people who weren't baseball fans knew who Jackson Holliday was. And he came up, his first game. I think the only hit he had was the game he got called up in when he got his first hit.
It was a couple days later, I think.
A couple days later. But I also seen he's having like some field. I saw a few like a video, like a few clips, and I've seen he's having some like feeling trouble too. So I think he's coming up and he's getting a little I think the pressure, the nerves got to him. I think he's a young kid. I mean, I think that they kind of had to bring him up. I mean, he was just he was doing so well down in Triple A. I mean, I think he was almost batting 400 down in Triple A.
He was doing so
Eh,
well, and it's just so tough to see him struggle.
I mean, realistically, he should have been on, like you're saying, for the price, should have been on the opening day rosters because he had such a great spring. And I feel like if he was on the opening day rosters, I feel like it would have been a
He would
more
have been
seamless
fine.
transition. It would have been more seamless transition. It would have been like would have been more seamless transition. Would have been like less pressure because there's a lot, opening day and stuff up. There's a lot more other stories around the league to kind of take the spotlight away and stuff. Give him some breathing room, but I think a little too much. He'll probably bounce back. I don't think the Orioles are going to want to send him back down. Maybe give him a little break. Work him in slowly and stuff. Build his confidence up. But I don't. I think sending him down would be detrimental because you don't want to. You bring him up and then you send him back down immediately. Not a good
You
thing
kind of
mentally
mess
for a
up
young
his
player.
mindset.
Yeah, it's just not a good thing mentally for a player. And baseball is a very, as much as it's a physical sport, it's a mental sport, as in a lot of sports are.
You're
So, I
right.
mean, I think he'll bounce back. It's a rough start. I mean, MLB's been pretty quiet about him now. I mean, everyone's, they kind of, they're kind of quiet. No one's really talking about it much anymore. But so
It's tough, but hopefully he bounces back. Now, let's get into some way too early MVP talk. We did Cy Young not too long ago. Now let's do some MVP. Would you like to start with the American League or the National League? I'll let you choose.
let's do American League first, since that's probably the one I know least. I know I'm not least
All
familiar with.
right. So I'm going to give you 5 names. Tell me how you think their chances are to win the MVP. And then if there's anybody else, let me know. First up is Juan Soto. How do you
Uh,
think he's going to do?
That was my pick for to win the AL MVP. I mean, I think he's on pace. I think he's going to be a favorite all year, and there's a good chance that he wins it. I mean, there's not many people in
He's
baseball right now
so good.
playing better than
He
him.
is amazing.
Not just in the American League, but in like all of baseball. So, I mean, if you're gonna pick a guy and like lock a guy in to win, MVP, it'd be Juan Soto.
Next up, I'm going to go rapid fire here. You got Bobby Witt Jr., Mike Trout, Jose Altuve, and Gunnar Henderson of the Orioles. Not counting Soto, which of those 4 would get your vote?
I'm a big Orioles guy. I might that probably let me be a little too much for being a Phillies fan, but I do like Gunnar Henderson. I mean, he's having a good year. I mean, Trout seems to be he's having a he's playing baseball like how he used to play when, before he was, I feel hurt all the time, back when he was considered the best player in baseball.
It was Shohei Otani's fault and why he was struggling,
Had I mean that's the only logical conclusion you can come to.
right? I mean, Otani's
Yeah.
gone and Trout's great.
I mean, it's circumstantial, but I mean that's what it looks like. And then you got Altuve. I'm not really sure how he's doing. I mean, the Astros certainly aren't doing too great.
No, they're not.
But I don't I just think, probably it's hard to win MVP when you're on a team that's struggling. Same thing
Now, is there any
with
other
Trout.
names that you think should be involved in this talk in the
Well,
American League?
you did say Bobby Witt Jr. earlier, and I'm really high on him. I think he's really good. I'm a little bit high on the Orioles the past couple weeks and stuff. So I think, good good chance he wins. I can't think of anyone else though in the
Yeah, I'm not
AL.
sure. I think there's anybody else either right now. Maybe Jordan Alvarez because I think he's just incredible, but he's also struggled a bit in the early goings.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. There's not that many like, standout players that, really pop when you think, MVP, that you can see winning MVP.
You would think Aaron Judge, but Aaron Judge has been abysmal.
I mean, It's a long year, but
It's a very long year.
he has to heat up soon and stuff because some of these other players, you keep going. It's hard to make that make the ground up later on in the season.
So now let's go to the National League, your stronger suit.
Mm.
And let's see. Do you think there's any Phillies on my list? Give me a prediction.
Phillies. Trying to think who's been. I mean, I'm gonna go with it was my pick last year, and he's been doing pretty well. I mean, Trey Turner.
But do you think he's on my list?
Ooh, so I think if you had a Philly, I think that might be it. If you're gonna pick a Philly,
Let's see. Mookie Betts,
that was
Shohei Ohtani,
yep.
Ronald Acuna Jr., Marcelo Zuna from the Braves, and Fernando Tatis Jr. No Phillies on my list, but what do you think?
You
Which
know
of them do you think could win it?
which one? Which Philly?
No, which
Which one of
non-Philly
those
that I
one to
named?
five? Oh,
Out of the
what?
5 players I named, who do you think has the best chance of winning it?
Well, at the start of the season, I picked Acuna, but now I mean it's almost looking like Mookie Betts is gonna run away with it.
Yeah,
I
I kinda
mean,
hope Ohtani wins it just because I got a future on that.
I mean, Ohtani, he's hitting good. He's hitting good, but I think part of the allure to like Ohtani MVP was that he, pitches good. Pitches too.
He's a good pitcher. He's not a great pitcher.
No, he's good.
He's not a number 1. I wouldn't even classify him as a number 2. He's a high end 3, low end 2.
Exactly. But that's like, the allure, to the thing why, people, that's the allure. And I mean, he's a good hitter too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, was a few years ago he almost hit 50 home runs, right back in like
Yeah.
2022. I think so. Like
I don't know. I saw a guy hit 62, so what is 50 to me?
that's true. But I mean, Otani's up there, and I think he'll probably be there just because of his name, even if he's not doing absolutely fantastic. But you know, and Acuna is probably gonna have a good year. But like right now, I mean, you're looking at like Mookie Betts and
I
what he's
think
doing. I mean,
Mookie is the guy.
he's just. I mean, he has a good team around him, and I mean, he had a game where he went 5 for 5. I mean,
So is there
that's
anybody
MVP
else that
stuff.
you think should be included in this list?
Anyone else?
You think Trey Turner really belongs?
I mean, I think Trey Turner, personally, I think he's gonna have the season that I thought he was gonna have last year. Because last year I had him slated to win MVP because he had a great WBC, good spring, and he was coming in hot, and I thought he was just gonna tear it up. And this year he's doing what I thought he was gonna do. So I mean, I'm thinking, if any, I'm thinking if he does what I think he was gonna do last year, this year, I mean, he can possibly win it.
Now, other than the Eagles, the worst thing to come out of Philly is cheering for players that are struggling to get their minds right. I find that to be an embarrassment. They're professional baseball players. When they struggle, they deserve to get booed. Do not cheer Aaron Judge because he's Aaron Judge. Cheer him when he does well and let him know when he doesn't. He understands that. Giancarlo Stanton understood that for years. Trey Turner needing to get cheered for to get his mind right is embarrassing.
Yeah, but I mean, how much is too much booing? I mean, people get on the Phillies for booing too much, and then you're getting on them for cheering. I mean, but how much booing is too much? I mean, at some point, if you're booing and booing and booing, and the player's not getting, and better, and you spent all this money on him, he's supposed to be, another star player.
Yeah,
At some point, I mean, maybe you cheer for him, for a game, and then maybe you go back to booing. But sometimes you got to show appreciation. Sometimes
right.
show that they're wanted in the city because I think sometimes these players, they get booed and booed a lot, and they're human too.
They
They're
are,
human too.
but they're
Sometimes it
professional
maybe feels
players.
like you're not wanted. I get it, but
Right.
sometimes you feel not wanted, and sometimes maybe you just need sometimes you need a little pat on the back. Kind of
You know what?
you know
My dud, as we get into studs and duds, is Aaron Judge because he has not been good. Aaron Judge knows that we want him. He knows that he's not unwanted. He's beloved. He's the captain. 99 will be retired in Yankee Stadium, but he struggles. Listen to this. Over his last 5 games, he's got 3 hits, 20 at bats. He's got 2 RBIs, walked once, struck out 12 times. He's hitting 150 with a 190 on base percentage over the last 7 days. On the season, Judge has been horrible. He hasn't earned cheers. Yes, he had a clutch hit, and we cheered for that. But Judge knows better than anybody. You have to earn it. And he needs to get right because it'll make it that much sweeter when he does earn it.
And he's not struggling with an injury or anything.
I mean,
he's
they
just in a
say
slump.
no. I think he probably is injured, but they say that he's fine, and he's played every game this year, whether it's DH or center field. Somebody that has earned it over the last week or so, though, is Travis d'Arnaud of the Braves. 5 games, 6 hits, 5 home runs. He's hitting 429 with 10 RBIs. He's just on a great tear right now, and he's my stud, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was National League Player of the Week.
That's not good for me when a Braves player is doing that good. That's not good for the Phillies.
Now, what about you, though?
Well, I'll start out with my dud. Someone who was kind of a highly anticipated free agent. Former Cy Young winner last year. Blake Snell is my dud this week. He didn't even make it 5 innings, 9 hits, 5 earned runs, 1 walk, only 3 strikeouts. I mean, that's not a Cy Young winner start.
No, it is not.
That's terrible. That's just a terrible start. I mean, maybe all those teams passed on him for a reason and saw something that us
Quite
fans didn't
possible
see.
he was asking for an incredible amount of money.
Coming down, or maybe they saw something. Maybe they saw something and he's not as good as people thought he was. I don't know.
I don't know, but who was as good as people thought they were? There's got to be somebody you found to be a stud this week.
It was hard because it's almost, I can almost do, a whole rotation of studs now with the Phillies, but I'm picked, because you had Spencer Turnbull flirting with a no-hitter. Suarez, Suarez is pitching great. Sanchez pitching great. I can almost give the stud to the whole Phillies pitching rotation. Right. But I singled out Zach Wheeler. He almost had a no-hitter. He brought the no-hitter into the 8th inning, and it was a little ball got past Harper for the hit. He should have got it, but should have got it. But Harper's still getting used to first, but he should, but you can't let those go by, especially when your pitcher's going for a no-hitter. But that game, he 1 hit, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. I mean, that's a Cy Young performance there.
Yeah, and he's right up there in the thick of that race. He is a great pitcher.
So he's one that's actually good. Lives up to the hype.
But let's get into some highlights, some weekly series highlight. Is there a series this upcoming week that you really want to showcase because it's going to be a great matchup or have some big impact in the standings or something?
Well, last week I picked the Rangers versus the Braves because of my friend Anna, because she likes the Rangers, and I also wanted the Rangers to beat up on the Braves a little.
How'd that work out?
That didn't really happen well. I mean, the Rangers, almost got swept. At least they won 1 game, so Anna's not too sad. But I'm gonna go with another game this week. Hoping that this team beats up on the Braves again. I'm gonna do the Cleveland Guardians at Atlanta. Not only because I'm hoping, the Braves, lose some here, because I think the Phillies, last I checked, are 1 game behind the Braves right now. So, they can really, really use some Braves losses there. But also because the Guardians are playing pretty good lately. So, but I think they've been playing, I don't know if they've been playing, quality, you could say, people would say, like a good quality team, some baseball fans would say. And I think this is kind of a test for them too, to see, how they do against like a team that people consider like a good team, like everyone agrees that the Braves are good. There's no speculation. So,
There's
not
no
only so
that's a fact.
Yeah. So we'll see. See how it goes, and hopefully the Braves lose.
For me, I'm going Yankees, Orioles. John, I know how much you love your Orioles. I'm hoping that the Yankees show some life. Their offense has been bad is too much of a compliment for how they've been. It's just they need to turn it around against the A's in this 4-game set against them because it is just abysmal, bad, horrible, horrendous, no good, just any type of negative word you can use is that Yankees offense. So they play the Orioles. They got Jackson Holliday coming in, who's obviously going to look like Babe Ruth against them. All these young guys. You're hoping, I believe it's a 4-game set. You're hoping to just split with the Orioles and, get out of there unscathed. The Orioles just overtook the Yankees for first place. The Yankees are a half game out. So now that they play the Orioles in the coming weeks, it's going to be interesting to see how they go. They play them starting the 29th, and that takes them into May. It's a 4-game set, and it's in Baltimore. So road series against a really good, really young team. You hope that your experience can kind of give you an edge. But last year's success has given the Orioles confidence, and that confidence is a little bit of experience now for some of them. So it's going to be a bloodbath. The Yankees, I think, really need to come away splitting this. And if they're able to get 3 wins, I think that's a hard-fought series.
I mean, this is an important matchup, not like for not only the Yankees but the Orioles too,
Yeah.
because same. I mean, this can be an important. You can look back at this later on the season and look back and be like, this is an important
The Orioles
series
offense,
here.
that's what's keeping them in these games. Their bullpen has been horrible, especially with Felix Bautista on the shelf. The Orioles need to start working on that pitching. But that's going to do it here for us at the Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast. Corey Jason, John Pauline, we're going to be signing off. Keep checking us out, outsidersports.net. We'll have some rankings. Football draft season is upon us. So who knows? John, you excited?
I'm excited. I'm excited. I mean, I did the mock draft with you guys on the football podcast. Extremely underprepared.
Yeah, but you
But I'm
did
looking
well.
forward.
So catch us on YouTube, search up Outsider Sports. You'll see these faces smiling right back at you. And that's going to do it for us. Till next week, signing off.